All right, let's talk about something that can be, incredibly frustrating. We see all this amazing research, mountains of evidence pointing to a really clear solution for a big public problem, and then crickets. Nothing happens. So why is there this giant chasm between what the science says we should do and what our leaders actually do? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
I mean, come on, you've totally felt this, right? You read about some incredible public health finding or a brilliant economic study, and the answer seems so simple, so obvious. You think this should be on every politician's desk tomorrow, ready to go. But that's almost never how it works. So what is really going on behind the scenes?
In a perfect world, this whole process would be super simple. It would just be a nice, clean, straight line, taking a great idea from the lab and turning it directly into a law that helps people.
And this ideal, it's all guided by one main principle: evidence-based public health. The whole idea here is pretty simple, really. It's about using solid, scientific data to build policies that we know are going to be effective. You take the guesswork out of it and just trust what the evidence tells us.
This really straightforward way of thinking is what's known as the engineering model. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a rational two-step process. Step 1, scientists do their thing, produce clear evidence. Step 2, policymakers take that evidence and build a policy from it. Easy, clean, totally logical. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, if only it were actually that easy. Because as we're about to find out, the real world is, well, it's a lot more complicated. And that clean, straight line from the lab to the law, it gets tangled up really, really fast.
So welcome to the messier reality. See, in the real world, evidence doesn't just get turned into policy. It gets twisted, it gets debated, it gets interpreted, and yeah, sometimes it just gets flat out ignored. It all depends on how it's being used. Let's look at a few ways this really plays out. So first up, you have something called the Enlightenment model. In this scenario, researchers put their findings out there, but there's no specific goal in mind. Their work just kind of joins this big, general ocean of public knowledge. It might influence how people think way down the line, but its path to becoming an actual policy is, super indirect and can take forever.
Okay, now this next one, the strategic model, is where things get really interesting. This is where research is basically used as a political weapon. Instead of guiding policy toward the best outcome, evidence is just cherry-picked by interest groups or even governments to back up a decision they've already made. It's not about finding the truth, it's about finding ammunition for a fight.
And this quote? This is a classic move from the strategic model playbook. How many times have you heard a politician say this? It sounds so responsible, right? We need more evidence. But a lot of the time, it's just a clever way to delay making a hard choice. It's using the idea of research as an excuse to do nothing at all.
Then you've got the elective affinity model. This one, it's all about gut feelings and personal beliefs. In this model, a policymaker is way more likely to listen to research if it basically just confirms what they already believe. But if the data goes against their core values or their political ideology, it often gets tossed aside, no matter how solid the science is.
So what's really crucial in this model isn't the quality of the research itself, but the relationship. If the scientist and the policymaker are on the same page, if they see the world the same way, if they have that ideological compatibility, then the research has a fighting chance. It means a personal connection can literally be more important than the data.
So why? Why is reality filled with all these messy, complicated models? Well, a huge part of it comes down to a really basic disconnect. It's often called the two communities model. The big idea is that researchers and policymakers are basically living in two completely different worlds, with different languages, different goals, and different pressures. This divide really helps explain why everything gets so complicated. Just look at this breakdown. On one side, you have researchers. They're rewarded for careful, long-term work. They answer to other scientists. Their number one value is objectivity. But policymakers, they're living in a totally different universe. They're on short deadlines, they have to worry about what's actually possible to do, what the public will think, and ultimately, they answer to voters. Their whole world is built on compromise and ideology. See? They're not just in different jobs, they're operating in completely different cultures.
And this huge cultural divide, it doesn't just lead to some simple misunderstandings, it actually creates a whole bunch of very real roadblocks that can stop even the absolute best research right in its tracks.
And here they are. It's a minefield out there. You've got political winds blowing one way, social trends blowing another. You have basic uncertainty, sometimes the science isn't 100% clear,
Plus, what one person considers a huge risk, another might see as no big deal. The timing could be all wrong. Maybe the research comes out right after an election. And this is a big one. If the research isn't communicated well, or if policymakers just don't see how it's useful to them, it's dead on arrival.
So, when you pull all of this together, when you look at the messy models, the cultural divide, and all those roadblocks, you get to the single biggest truth about how these decisions actually get made.
At the end of the day, making policy is just not a purely rational process. It's not a math problem. We can't just drop a stack of data on a desk and expect a perfect logical law to pop out the other side. That simple engineering model we started with, it's a myth. And it's a myth because it leaves out the most important and most unpredictable variable of all, people.
And really, this is the key takeaway from all of this. That whole human side of the equation, that messy, complicated mix of personal values, political pressures, deep-seated beliefs, and just how well an idea is communicated, all of that is every bit as important as the data itself. If you want to turn good research into good policy, you absolutely have to navigate the human element first.
Which, of course, leaves us with the big final question. If we know for a fact that data alone isn't enough to make change happen, then what does it actually take to bridge that huge divide between the world of research and the world of policy? What do we need to do differently to make sure the best science we have actually helps build a better world?